You did it?
What'd you say?
I asked who did it. My parents are watching some Israeli like gun show on. It's so loud.
Typical. So we're just gonna wait a couple more minutes and then we'll get started. I'm so excited to be quarantining with all you guys. Warren, welcome. Amit, thank you for coming. You're the best.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I don't know if you heard me before, but I said it's a pleasure to be quarantining with all you guys and ladies. And if everybody, just before we begin, if you could just make sure to mute your mic, so that way when other people are talking or when I'm talking, there's no background noise. What's up, Steven? And also, for those of you who are new to Zoom, at the bottom, there's like a little like chat box function. So if there's anything that you want to type at any point during the program, all feedback and all questions are totally welcome. All right, so just one more minute. Warren, you look sharp, as my father would say. Do you have Band-Aids in your pocket? You look real sharp.
Rayna, so do you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I've had 3 sales demos today.
We can celebrate that.
I need a green screen. People always wonder about this man cave in here.
Yeah, put the set of Tiger King back there. All right. So welcome, everybody. This is so exciting. I've spoken virtually before, but Shehachianu, that's a blessing we say in Judaism when something is new or we're doing something for the first time. So this is my first Zoom virtual meeting. So thank you all for sharing in this super special occasion with me. And before I begin my story, I thought it would be really cool to hear from some of you a bit of your story. And if you want to participate, there's like a function on the bottom where it says that you can raise your hand. Has anybody on this call ever experienced? Oh, hello. Has anybody on this call ever experienced any discrimination, or perhaps maybe you were bullied for something related to your faith or your culture? Does anybody want to share?
Oh, I didn't realize you wanted someone to share. I'm like sitting here trying to figure out how to raise my hand for the last 2 minutes. Okay, so hi guys, my name is Danielle Blanca. I'm one of Rayna's previous internship students when I was back in high school. I met Rayna when, I know I'm going off, I'll do this later, but my experience was in high school. My freshman year of high school, I had an Israeli flag for Multicultural Day, and a group of sophomore boys drew a swastika on it and laughed about it. And that was my first little encounter in school with anti-Semitism, and Rayna's brought me to where I am today in speaking about it and whatnot.
Thanks, Dee. Does anybody else have an experience they want to share where they were bullied? Maybe it didn't even have to do with your faith. It was just an experience where somebody was really mean to you. All right. So before we begin, I'm going to invite my friend Danielle on one more time. I know some of you guys saw BBYO on the flyer and you're like, what is that? So I'd like to invite my friend Danielle to share with you guys what BBYO is. So that way you all have a little bit more context to the call and the purpose of the call.
So hi guys, I'm Danielle again, and I started BBYO when I was in the 8th grade in middle school. And what BBYO is, it's an organization for teens to connect and do good things throughout the Jewish community and beyond. And it taught me about what did it teach me? It taught me how to make friends in high school. It prepared me for college, had me doing volunteering. It just prepared me. Oh my God, I'm so excited to talk about BBYO. Usually I'm like, it's been so long. It was just an amazing opportunity as a teenager to be a part of an organization that incorporated boys and girls, and inspired you to explore your Judaism and explore the world, and on an international level and a community level. It's an amazing program that it just changed who I was as a person and social person. Was that a good explanation? I haven't spoken about BBYO. Okay, fantastic.
I was just gonna add that I'm from BBYO. I'm a teen, so I can speak on that. On the
Go,
BBYO.
Danny, go!
Yeah, so I can explain it like a little more if anybody has questions or stuff. But like just exactly what Danielle said. It's just an amazing platform they can use to provide like leadership skills, networking skills, volunteer stuff. Also, like Rayna, I started my chapter in my local community, and Danielle. So I know that, and I've been involved for 3 years now. I'm a senior in high school, and I've taken like all the opportunities BYO has given me and I'm from Michigan, so in the Michigan area and internationally and everything. And I don't know, I just think it's an amazing organization, and just like what they've done with BBYO On Demand, for the people that know, they threw that together really quickly. So now there's live webinars every day, all day, things like this, and just it's an amazing platform. So.
Yeah. And Danny, before you mute yourself, why are you named Danny? How did you get your name?
So it was, I don't know, my parents, like, there were a few other names they could pick. Like, it was like Spencer or something, but they thought like Danny stuck well, and I think I forgot what it means in Hebrew, but I think there's like some meaning behind it.
It means God is my leader.
Okay, yeah.
Daniel.
So I think it was from that also.
Amazing. From one Danny to another Danny.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite question to ask people, is why they're named their name. It's kind of a way that you can get really deep really fast without it being like super weird. So hi everybody. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rayna Rose Exelbeard, and I'm named after my great grandmother Rayna, and my middle name is Rose because during the Holocaust, my grandmother had a sister named Rosa who was hiding from the Nazis with her baby. And unfortunately, for half a kilo of sugar, they were sold out to the Nazis and they were murdered. So it's no coincidence that I'm really, really passionate about Holocaust education. And I want to take you guys on a little bit of a journey so that you can understand how a girl who grew up in BBYO, just like the two Dannys, ended up starting a movement in the state of Florida, which is not where I grew up. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, although I know it doesn't sound like it, but I promise I am. And finding a career that I'm super, super passionate about and has absolutely nothing to do with my international business degree. So I want to share first two experiences from high school before I get into my experiences with BBYO. I'll never forget when I was a senior in high school, my public high school had just switched to block scheduling. And for those of you who don't know, instead of having 6 40-minute period classes, we switched to having 4 classes that were an hour and a half long each. So imagine the school day all of a sudden becoming like a Netflix binge. And I remember we were talking about it a lot in our government class. And one day my government teacher came up to me. And for some of my high school students, can any of you guys relate to having that teacher who says, you must write in this color ink. You can only write on this sheet of the page. In other words, if you didn't do it exactly as they wanted, they would rip it up. They wouldn't accept it. Has anybody experienced a teacher like that? Okay. So imagine how I felt when that teacher came up to me and said, hey, Rayna, I need your help. And I'm thinking like, I need help for the trauma that you've caused me as a student. And I said, like, yes, like, what can I help you with? And she said, I know that you're really passionate about block scheduling, and I need you to write a speech. I need you to go to the Board of Education, and I need you to explain what's wrong with block scheduling and what they could do to improve it. Because when they first implemented it, they took away teachers' planning periods. They made it so that if you missed a teacher, you may not see them for an entire week. And she told me, you need to write a 2-minute speech. And I remember thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say in 2 minutes? Now I speak for a living. You know, sometimes they say, Rayna, you only have 20 minutes. I'm like, no, it's not enough, right? But when I was a teen, 2 minutes felt like forever. So I wrote my speech and I went to the Board of Education with my dad and we waited. If there's anybody on the call who's a teacher, I hear that these meetings are very similar all over the country, these teacher meetings. They're so long. It goes from light to night outside. And finally, it was my turn to go up to the podium and speak. And the reason I remember this so well is because when I made my speech, it was the first time I ever made the news as an individual for something I did. Before, it would be like, look at the White Station soccer kids, or it'd be like, look at the Jewish kids volunteering. And the soundbite that made the news was I was reading my speech and I said, what am I supposed to tell college? Dear college, I'm sorry I have no recommendations for you. My teachers are being overworked. And then you guys, there were like over 100 teachers in the audience, and they started jumping up and like cheering me on, and it was so amazing. But the coolest part wasn't being on the news. The coolest part was getting a letter on Monday from the Board of Education saying every single suggestion that I made in my speech was adopted as school-wide policy for the entire city of Memphis. So why do I share that story? Because sometimes when we speak up, we have absolutely no idea how many people we're going to impact and inspire in the process. Sometimes we're speaking up for ourselves, but sometimes we're speaking up for a teacher, we're speaking up for a friend. And, you know, sometimes when we speak up, it's not so serious, right? Like, who here has ever been to a restaurant and they brought you something, maybe you ordered it, but it wasn't good, but you felt bad, so you kept eating it anyways, and you didn't say anything. Yeah, we've been there. Or you're at a restaurant and you ordered something and they brought you the wrong thing. How many of us have been in that situation and we didn't speak up? Now, I know this sounds really ridiculous, but practicing how to speak up for yourself in even scenarios like that is really, really good practice for when it becomes a really big deal. So when I became a freshman in high school, for those of you who aren't familiar with BBYO, there are leadership positions for students to get involved, whether it's being a treasurer or a secretary or a historian. And because it's a Jewish organization, they have Hebrew names for all those different positions. And you know, when I became a freshman, I was so excited. I ran for every position that I could. And you know what happened? I got nothing. My sophomore year, I ran again for every single position that I could. And you know what happened? Still nothing. My junior year, I ran for treasurer. And can you guess what happened? I won because nobody ran against me. Hey! And at the time, my chapter, my group in Memphis, River City, shout out to River City right here. This was my my jersey when I was a teenager. I'll still go by Lil Ray Ray or Dr. Dreidel. I thought I was gonna be a rapper when I grew up, and they had done like bake sales and car washes, and I had this vision that we were gonna have a fashion show and that we were gonna raise money for Make-A-Wish. And so we had this fashion show, which they still do today, 10 years later, and we raised over $5,000 for Make-A-Wish. But the coolest part wasn't just strutting ourselves down the runway. The coolest part was we actually got to grant a wish for a child. And we were matched with a young woman who was terminally ill of AIDS. Unfortunately, her mom had died from AIDS, and her wish was she wanted to buy music equipment so that when she died, her dad would still have a piece of her. So for those of you who don't know, in Memphis, Tennessee, we have the Stax Museum, which is where a lot of legends recorded hits back in the days. And it was kind of like Willy Wonka. We sent her this ticket in the mail that was like, hey, you want a free tour of the Stax Museum. So naturally, I pretended to be a tour guide. Thank God my dad used to listen to all that Motown music. As we're walking around, I'm pointing at Isaac Hayes' Cadillac, talking about Al Green, all these different people. And then finally, we get into this one room where all the other girls from my group, from my chapter, River City, are hiding. And everybody, when we walk in, they jumped out and they told this girl, you got your wish. And she was so surprised. And the following week, we're at Best Buy and we're running around the store. We're like looking to get her supplies. And then all of a sudden the manager looks at me and he gives me like that look that's like, hey, what's up? Hello. You know, like the look where like you're kind of in trouble, and he's like motioning for me to come over. So I walk over to the manager, and he's asking me about like what's going on here. And I began to tell him the whole story about what we did, about our organization. And he's really quiet for a second. And then he looks at me and he says, don't tell anybody that I told you this, but anything that this young woman pulls over the $5,000 budget, because that's all she had to spend, he said, we're going to cover it out of our store. I think what you're doing is really awesome. And I share that story because sometimes our presence alone makes the world a better place. Had we not been running around, right, then the manager wouldn't have been inspired to talk to us. And had he not talked to us, then he wouldn't have been inspired to participate in our giving. And in Hebrew, we call it tzedakah. He wouldn't have been inspired to give tzedakah. So that was like a really important lesson for me. We always have to speak up, right, and recognize that sometimes we have absolutely no idea who we're impacting around us. And my senior year of high school, me and some other girls in Memphis, Tennessee, we decided to start a new group called Daniel Pearl BBG. So my first 3 years of high school, I was very, very active in River City, which I also learned that you can't have a successful organization if you don't have members. So for those of you who are on the call, if you've lost an election, if you lost 5 elections, I've been there, and don't worry about it because it's even bigger and better opportunities that are coming for you in the future. But don't you dare ever forget that if an organization doesn't have involved members, it doesn't matter how many people are on the board, right? So who's Daniel Pearl? Daniel Pearl was an American Jewish journalist who in the early 2000s, he was kidnapped by Al-Qaeda, and on national television, this was like before YouTube, this was before the news had a delay, on his knees, surrounded by terrorists, they said, what are your final words? And Daniel Pearl said, my mother is Jewish, my father is Jewish, I am Jewish, and then they chopped off his head. And everybody in the world watched this happen. Oh, excuse me, ISIS, not Al-Qaeda. Thank you, Amit. And it's really important to note today, actually, when I was scrolling through Facebook, I saw in Pakistan, the murderer who was actually convicted is being let go. So even though this was something that happened a long time ago, it's still really important to know. And the reason we chose to name our group Daniel Pearl BBG is because we were so inspired by his commitment to journalism, to social activism, and most importantly, his connection to his faith. And so my senior year of high school, it was all about doing Special Olympic bowling, doing a lot of volunteer work. We had a really strong commitment to service. Now, what do most teenagers do when they're 18 years old in the United States? College, which I know is kind of a sore subject for seniors right now. But anyways, instead of going straight to college like all my friends were doing, I decided to go to Israel for a year, and it was the most incredible year of my entire life. For 3 months, I did archaeological digging, which if any of you guys have ever been to Jerusalem, it's super, super important to Muslims, Christians, and Jews. So like when you're in Jerusalem and you're seeing the history, you recognize it ain't about her story, it ain't about his story, it's all a part of our story. And thankfully, Jerusalem is really old, so I actually got to find some pretty cool things when I was working at the archaeological dig site. And then the next 3 months, so that was midway through my year. The first 3 months, actually, I was in the Israeli army, which I know sounds crazy. It was. I'm not actually a citizen of Israel, so I didn't have to fully enlist. But living in Israel and doing the army really gave me the opportunity to sort of see the country through the eyes of a citizen, because everybody, when they're 18 years old in Israel, they go to the army, right? And then my last 3 months in Israel, I was living in this town called Bat Yam, which in Hebrew actually means mermaid. And there I was coaching Jewish and Muslim kids in soccer. I was going out every night in Tel Aviv and making incredible friends who I'm so blessed to still call family to this day. And, you know, I grew up in Tennessee. I never experienced any racism. Nobody ever did anything anti-Semitic to me. And when I was in Israel, they told me, you know, when you get to America, you might experience anti-Semitism. Now, I knew I was going to college in Boca Raton. And I don't know what you think about when you think of Boca, but the city of Boca has more Jews than the entire state of Tennessee. So when they said to me, you might experience anti-Semitism, what do you think I actually thought? I mean, going to Boca, right? Going to FAU. But boy, was I wrong. I was so appreciative I took that course in Israel because it's the first week of school at FAU. I woke up early to put on my makeup and put on a cute outfit. It's funny how when you're a freshman in college, those things are super important. But by the time you get to the middle of college, you're just like, I just want to be finished. I just want to make it to class on time. You don't really care about what you look like. And at FAU, we have this large breezeway where all the different student organizations, sororities, fraternities, they have their tables. They call it tabling because they want to enroll you. They want to give you materials. They want to give you free stuff. And I see the Hillel table, which is like the Jewish organization on college campuses all over the country. And even if you're not Jewish, you can always count on Hillel for amazing snacks and awesome internships. So definitely tell people in your network about the Hillel organization. They provided so many opportunities for me when I was in college. And so I see this super hot, attractive guy talking to the Hillel staff at the table. So y'all know I walked past her because I wanted to, you know, talk to the cute guy. And as I get up to the table, all of a sudden I hear the super cute guy is saying the craziest stuff I've ever heard about Israel in my entire life. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I know that this stuff happens, but this don't happen in my school, right? So I like kind of counted to 3 in my head and I start talking to this guy. And the first thing he said to my face is that Israeli soldiers drink blood. I'm like, does this look like somebody who would drink blood? You know? And then he went on to tell me how Jews stole the land. And this was when having a BlackBerry was super cool, but unfortunately the internet was super slow. So as I'm standing there with my BlackBerry in my hand, right, wanting to show this guy pictures from the archaeological dig site, I said, okay, dude, I know that there's conflict in the region, but I also know for a fact that Jewish people have had a connection to this land for over 3,000 years. And he went on to tell me how Israel is racist. And I told him about my friend named Niral, who, if you look her up, she is Muslim, she's Arab. She won the TV show Israel's Next Top Model. And you bet her and I were going out to some of the best nightclubs ever in Tel Aviv. So as this guy's telling me that the government is racist, I'm like, have you been there, you know? And we went back and forth and back and forth. And finally he walked away. And I was so mad that I didn't change his mind, which I want to make sure to end back on that point. I'm like, how could this be? Like, I showed him like all these pictures, you know? And the next thing I know, I got this little tap on my shoulder and I turn around and there's this like very short Israeli woman. She says, hello, we need a new Israel advocacy intern and you're hired. I'm like, all right. So I sat down with the director of Hillel and of the Jewish organization, and he said, Rayna, we think it's so great that you've been to Israel. We think it's so cool that you have Israeli friends. But if you're going to be our Israel advocacy intern, you kind of need to know some stuff about Israel. Because, like, let's be real. Even though I grew up in the modern Orthodox community, I grew up going to a Jewish day school. I was super involved with BBYO. I never really learned the history of Israel. I'm not ashamed to admit, when I was 18 years old, I could not tell you where Israel was on a map. I couldn't tell you that they developed all of this different technology that the rest of the world is using. I didn't know any of that. All I knew was that my time there was incredible, and that the way that people were talking about Israel felt like somebody was saying really bad things about my best friend, right? So the Hillel director says, we're going to send you to this Stand With Us conference in Los Angeles, which when somebody says free trip to LA, what do you say?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, we're like, when we going, right? So I boarded the plane, and there's so many incredible things I could tell you about the conference, but the most important thing is you guys are never going to believe who the very first speaker was at the conference.
That guy.
It was Daniel Pearl's dad, Judea. And for me, it was the first time in my entire life where I experienced what they call the full circle moment, right? Where something that I had done in the past was so meaningful that later in the future, it made the moment on fire, right? And it was so cool because at this conference, I met students from all different cultures and backgrounds and faiths who were all really committed to learning about Israel and utilizing the nonprofit's resources to organize events on their campus. And when I was participating in these meetings, people were saying, we're having problems recruiting members, we're having problems organizing events. And even though I didn't know about Israel, I told you guys that I had so much experience in high school being an active member that it felt really natural for me to like share stories and experiences. And after that conference, I felt so empowered to be able to connect Judea with the girls in Memphis and let him know that Daniel Pearl BBG was a thing. I was like, this Israel advocacy thing is really cool. And I wanna get more involved with it. And unfortunately, because of the length of the call, I don't have the full, I don't have enough time to tell you my whole story. But the last story that I want to share with you guys is the winter break of my freshman year. I went back to Israel with a group of leaders from all over the country, again, of all different backgrounds. And they told us before we came, collect toys in your community, because when we get to Israel, we're going to meet some kids who are disadvantaged. That's all they told us. And then right when we were in Israel getting off the bus, they're like, oh, by the way, all these children who you're about to meet, they actually have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which I never knew that a cute little kid could have something so devastating. And the reason all these kids have PTSD is because they used to live in Gaza, in an area called Gush Katif. And in the early 2000s, when Israel was trying to make peace with the Palestinians, all Jewish people who were living in Gaza were forced out of their homes and into these trailers in the desert. And the Israeli government promised them homes, and many of them have received them. But the trauma of the move and living in such conditions is why these kids have PTSD. Now, of all the stories I could share, why is this one so important for me? Because I want you to imagine how I felt the spring semester of my freshman year. I just finished Friday night dinner, Shabbat dinner at my Hillel. And when I went to my dorm, on my dorm was an eviction notice. It said eviction in huge letters. It had Palm Beach County's government seal on it. It had FAU's university stamp. So what do you think I thought? Started to call my mom to be like, why didn't you pay my bill? Like, what's going on here? And unfortunately, that was just the beginning of a lot of challenges that I went through. I was cyberbullied. I had my picture posted all over the internet with horrible things written about me. These kids who were bullying me, who put the hate on my door, they were allowed to use university funds to bring a Holocaust denier to speak at FAU. And even though they have a Holocaust major, as the granddaughter of Holocaust survivors, I was told, because of freedom of speech, we have to allow the Holocaust denier to speak. So I didn't actually know until I was 21 years old that free speech also includes hate speech. But the Cliff Notes version is through mobilizing leaders on my campus and in the community, we were able to have a lot of important people fired. I told you my junior year of high school, I raised $5,000 for Make-A-Wish, but my junior year of college, I fundraised $30,000, organized a 3-day Israel convention at FAU, where over 150 college students from all over Florida came to learn about Israel and to party and to celebrate. And it caused such a ripple effect in my campus that it inspired all these younger leaders to get involved who are now working for all of these major organizations. And even though I studied international business and my goal was I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to make a lot of money, and then I'm going to go into politics, it was through getting bullied that I accidentally found my passion for Israel education. And since then, in the last decade, I have spoken to over 100,000 people of different demographics, backgrounds, and cultures. And I was working in the nonprofit world, but in July, I decided to start my own business, The Rose Grows, because I'm so passionate about leaders finding their confidence through conversation and social impact. And with that, I just want to say that sometimes in life, it is our biggest challenges that are going to inspire our biggest blessings and opportunities. Don't ever say, why me? Turn it around and say, why not me? Because in order to see results, in order to see growth, unfortunately, sometimes, like the current situation right now with the quarantine, we have to get really, really uncomfortable in order to do that work and to take the next step. So I'm going to end myself now just because the call is going to end at 7:40. But if any of you guys are interested in hearing more of my story, or you'd like to bring me in to speak in your community, clearly this is something that I'm super, super passionate about. Outside of speaking, I mentor high school students and college students, and I'm really proud to share that I also have a podcast with Holocaust survivors. And with that, in the remaining time, I want to pass it off to you guys. If anybody would like to share something new, or maybe you were inspired by something in the call. So off to you guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
If you want to go
Rayna.
longer, you can just restart the meeting.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can.
They give you unlimited time.
Is it? Even though it says 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Because you're logged into their account, so they have Pro, so it just goes for them.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, I know some of you might have to go, but if let's hear from a few people, and then I'll keep sharing.
I just wanted to say to get back to homework, but I met Rayna at a BBYO internship, I think in Dallas, Texas, or Orlando, I think 2 years ago. And she was speaking and she was wearing the funky hat and her crazy sneakers. And I just thought to myself, like, holy cannoli, like, I want to be just like her when I grow up. And right away, she got me an internship at Stand With Us. And she was my mentor for my senior year of high school. And not was I her, just, she was my mentee, but she also really pushed me and got me speaking at different events. I spoke to over 10 high schools and middle schools throughout Florida throughout the year, my senior year of high school, and I got to work with many Holocaust survivors. And still today, she keeps up with me, and I do her graphic design, and she always keeps in the loop, and it's full circle for me. So I'm forever grateful, and it's not about what you know, but who you know.
Yeah, I love that. Love you, Dee. Thank you.
Love you guys.
For sharing.
Thanks.
Anybody else have something they want to share? Yes, I love your background. Take it away, Amit. Oh, wait, we can't hear you. It's like the Little Mermaid. You look beautiful, but there's no sound. Yeah.
Hi, Rayna. Thank you for having me. The background you see behind me is of the Boca Parliament. Whoever doesn't know about it, it's an organization that I established about 5 years ago. All consisted of Israeli American. We have a few hundred members, and we meet regularly every couple of weeks around a very passionate speaker. And passionate is probably the one word that you can describe Rayna the best, you know, because I remember when we started the Boca Parliament, she was the second speaker that we brought in. The first one was the chairman of the Riviera Parliament, which is the parent organization. So we gave him the honor, but we knew right away that if we really want to impress our friends, we need to bring Rayna in. And I met her for the first time in another parliament meeting, one down in Miami. And she spoke with 3 others, but she captured and captivated the audience like you couldn't believe. If you think that you saw passion here through Zoom, try to see her speak in person, which I'm sure most of you have. Just unbelievable. Her passion, the way she delivers, the way she touches people, immediately has, such a great impact. So we brought her over, as part of Stand With Us, to talk about, anti-Semitism in campuses and in high schools, and how to provide tools for students to combat them. And of course, she was unbelievable. And a few months ago, we invited her again as she was continuing on to her new chapter in her life. Rayna, I have to jump to a parliament meeting right now that we have starting at 8, but you're so awesome. Definitely good luck. Stay in touch, and anything the Boca Parliament can do for you and your organization and these wonderful people that you have here, we would love to help. So best of luck.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Amit. You're the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Anybody else want to share something that they learned, or like something that kind of like inspired them, or an experience maybe that you had with discrimination?
I just wanted to say thank you so much. I really sort of connected with your story, just like on the BBYO path, and I'm involved in Stand With Us this year also. Yeah, I love it so much. And I can sort of see like all your points that you touched on and the connections to the story like really connected to and resonated with me, and I can see how down the path they'll connect, and they'll like bring that full circle effect back.
Amazing. Stay hungry, stay involved, and chase after all those opportunities.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to share anything?
Hey, yeah. So I couldn't. My name is Yelena. Hi, everyone. Sorry, no video for now. I couldn't find that thing to raise the hand. Sorry.
That's okay.
And I just wanted to share something that really touched me personally. It wasn't even a part of this meeting, and it wasn't even something that you told me personally. It was something you told Margarita, who's also in the meeting. Hi, Rita. She was, having a meeting with you, like whatever, you guys, hang out together. And you said that it doesn't matter how many followers you have, it doesn't matter how many views you have, how many people heard you. As long as you touched one soul, as long as you helped one soul, that's it. And it touched me so much because you're so passionate about your message. You're so passionate about what you believe in. And look, you are bringing people together because of that. It's not to gain following. It's not to, promote some. It's just because you believe in something, and it's so strong, and you really care about people, and that's fantastic. That just gave me a lot of inspiration for my own, beginnings and continuing. So just thank you. Seriously, thank you so much.
Yelena, that was so nice. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for sharing that. Does anybody else have anything that they'd like to share?
Has the situation on FAU got handled with over the years?
I can go.
Yeah, so I'm really proud to say that the Jewish organization Hillel has never been stronger. Owls for Israel, if you check them out on Instagram, you can see everything that they're up to. Every month they have incredible programs and projects and partnering with different student organizations on things that I would have never had the creativity or the bandwidth to execute myself. So it just goes to show that, by standing up for what you believe in, and even if you're a voice of one, eventually you'll inspire other people to join you and even surpass you and what they're able to achieve. And I've seen that with my student organization at FAU, and I'm also really blessed that a lot of the teens who I've mentored, some of the things that they're up to in college, they have also surpassed any of my activism. And that makes me not jealous, that just makes me like really, really proud. And kind of like what Danielle was saying earlier about experiencing, you know, like the full circle now that she helps me with all my graphic design. Yeah.
That's really
Rayna, I think I've probably heard you give a similar speech 10 times, and every time I get chills, and I'm so inspired. You're amazing.
I love you, Sydney. Sydney's been helping me with a lot of my outreach. She's another student who I've mentored who's just like up to incredible things. And I'm really, really proud of everything that you've accomplished, and I'm so excited to cheerlead you through all your future successes. I love to say when one grows, we all grow. And that's really the truth, is when we can help other people and support others, inevitably you lift yourself in the process. So don't ever be jealous of other people. Always be in the mindset of sharing, because ultimately everything that you put out, as long as you have good intentions, will always come back to raise you up in the future. Anybody?
Yep, I have something to share. This is Vita. My video is not working for some reason, but I actually met Rayna at that first Stand With Us conference she went to, and my first impression of her was, put her in a car. She's a spark plug. That car will go forever. She has so much energy that's infectious. And then just kind of watching her grow. We actually were colleagues at Stand With Us. I was one of the original launchers of the Stand With Us internship for high school. So when I was hired, the high school program actually didn't exist. And Rayna was one of those who, you know, came on board and, you know, took the program to the next level. And, you know, just kind of watching her grow, going from, you know, being a participant with her in the organization, and then being colleagues, and then now we've both gone back into the private sector, you know, and just seeing her and put all of her energy into just making the world a better place is just really inspiring. So anytime that you can actually be in her orbit, do that, bring her into your community. You know, she is a change maker. So just really proud of you, Ray.
Thanks, Vita. I'm going to replay that anytime I'm sad. You guys are amazing. I don't want to take up any more time, but I definitely think I learned from this experience I should host more webinars. So if there's a particular topic like leadership or Israel or Holocaust or confidence or any skills that speech giving that you'd love to see me do more videos and more webinars on, I got a lot of time on my hands. So I'm really open to all of those things. And I just want to say that no matter your age, no matter your background, I'd love to work with you to empower you to learn your story, to share your story, so that you can really motivate yourself forward, but most importantly, to make a difference. And if there's anything that you learn from my story, it doesn't take something big to make a difference. Every movement started with one conversation. Every organization started with one person. So be brave and just know that no matter what, you have my support, my talents, and my contacts. So thank you all so much for tuning in tonight.
Wash your hands.
Yeah. Wait, let me get some of that Purell. Yeah, thank you.